everybody. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I'm Wendy Stuart.
And I'm Tym Moss. Hi.
I've got Tim in the flesh today. We're always grateful to have you in the flesh.
I love being in the flesh.
Because we never know how we're getting you.
Yes.
Medium rare, well done.
Yeah, well, I was in Union Square, so I thought, what the hell? I'll just pop by and do
I'll
a
just
show.
mosey on by. I hope everybody is having a great day today. I'm loving the heat.
It's all yours.
I know. I love heat and humidity. It just makes me feel alive. What's going on with you? You've been hither, dither, and yonder.
Yeah, actually, we just did 50 Shades of Gay in Denver this last weekend.
And Clock Tower was the
Clock Tower Cabaret, which is fabulous. I love that theater. I will go back there anytime.
So at the Clock Tower is
it's actually a clock tower downtown. Everybody knows where the clock tower is.
Wow, and they put a cabaret in there.
And there's cabaret in the basement.
That is so cool.
And it's so fabulous. It's just so nicely decorated and just it's amazing. Yeah.
And I'm sure the audience was great too.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Those people in Denver operate at a higher altitude.
That was one of the things I've never. The elevation.
I was going to ask
messes with you.
Yeah, I
didn't know that. Well, firstly, when we arrived, the California fires, the air quality was low because we couldn't even see the mountains.
Up
it was
all Sacramento
orange.
is terrible.
Yeah, it's all orange, smoky when we arrived. And then it cleared up the next day because we went walking down the hall of the hotel and I looked out the window. I was like, oh my God, there's mountains right there.
Wow.
We couldn't even see them the night before.
But
it cleared up. So nobody was going out during that time.
At all?
Well, I got like my nose stuffed up and I was hoarse and I'm like, oh great, I got to sing. And finally, but it started to clear up once I started. And oh my God, did we sleep? Oh my God, they said you sleep really good. Like 8 hours straight.
Wow.
I hadn't done that since I was like 20.
Mountains. It's like being in the mountains. They'll do that for you. Well, my God, that's great.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Well,
how was your weekend?
Oh God. What do I got going on? I got so much going on. I can't get it all straight in my head. But first I want to talk about Pike County Pride I'm doing this Sunday that services not only Pennsylvania, but New York and New Jersey.
Right.
For anybody listening that wants to come out to the country, I'm an hour and 40 minutes away doing this Pride. You know, somebody actually wrote on Facebook, I thought Pride was over in June. I didn't realize that person was a troll and I blocked her. But when people write stuff like that, I naively said, oh no, Pride goes all summer long now, right? And she wrote back, really? Why? And then I realized, okay, that's a troll. Got rid of her. But we've got a great show planned. I'm the MC of the show, and Betty Buttons is going to be my drag performer. For those of you who know, we love Betty. She's great. She's only been around 2 years, and she is girlfriend is seasoned already. And I have an amazing 16-year-old girl named Samantha who's going to be playing for 90 minutes. So don't you love this talent that is like they can sing, they can play. So
and the LGBT community is full of talent.
Right, full of talent. And we have a huge LGBTQ community in Pike County. So be there or be square. I hope to see you. You know what I did this weekend? I did something I never do.
What is that?
I go out to Pennsylvania some weekends. I have a frog pond I put in during the pandemic with my pandemic loan. Yes, instead of using it on my business, I built in a frog pond. How gay is that? That's like such a gay thing to do. I'll have a frog pond.
And then all your gays that come up to visit you just love it.
Yeah, they all do love it. But I'm out there laying in a chair and just totally relaxing. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a bear, and I was not at a gay bar. Okay, it was like Mr. Bear came
talking the leather community,
moseying along, and they do that
my goodness,
thing. And it's like, okay, I'm not feeling so relaxed.
And that's not also the pond is not next to the door either.
No, right, it's up the stairs, which Mr. Bear could easily do as he kind of headed towards me. So it's like, bye-bye. Here, goodbye, Mr. Bear. I was talking in my high pitched Mr. Bear voice. I don't know, does that even work?
Obviously it did.
Bye, Mr. And then I got myself in the house. But yeah, you know what? It's all good. Oh, well, I have you all here. I want to talk about the Fringe Jersey City Pride Fringe Pride Festival, which will be August 18th at Voorhees Park in Jersey City. You'll hear more about it from me. Evan Lawrence is producing it, of course. Evan Lawrence is producing, and we've got a cast of really great people. And again, sit tight. I'll be talking about that more. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. And also, we're going to be taking 50 Shades of Gay out to Indianapolis to their Fringe in 2 weeks. So just go to the Indianapolis Fringe Festival, look up 50 Shades of Gay, and pick a date. We've got like 3 shows
now,
that weekend.
And you have a ton of friends in Indiana.
Yeah,
your best friend
friends
Nancy
and relatives.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking a few extra days before and a few days after to see family and friends. So.
Right, which isn't that great? When you combine work and play, right? Is that not the best?
Absolutely.
So we had Nora Burns on our show. I'm going to see one of her. I saw The Village.
Well, we're going, aren't we?
This Thursday?
Yeah, I thought we were going together.
You told me you weren't going to be here.
No, I'm here.
Oh my!
Yeah, because I was planning. I was going to see if you were going with me or
you
not.
See, so much happens in Tim's
So yes,
life.
we are going to see Nora Burns
great.
tomorrow.
We're going to see Nora
David's
Burns
friend.
along with Jack and Cheryl. So Jack and Cheryl are friends of ours.
Oh, good.
So I know I've
them.
invited the world. So there we have it. We're going to see Nora Burns, and it's David's friend. I saw the show when it was done at the Jean Frankel Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Just an incredible show.
She's remarkable.
Yeah, Nora Burns is absolutely remarkable. So we're excited.
Yeah.
Why did I think you saw it already?
No,
you saw The Village.
I saw The Village a couple weeks ago.
Okay, I'm just
and
very
so I'm returning
excited.
to see. Yeah, we were trying to figure out a date when we were together. So
we're
it's on
together.
the calendar. We're actually going out and having some fun together.
Yay! Oh my God! And speaking of fun, okay, so this person that we're having is so much fun. So much so that I had this person on my other show, TriVersity Talk, because I'm like, I just love their personality. And you know how sometimes people will send you a picture, an 8x10, and they just pop. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun with a capital F. Today, we are very excited to have James Jackson Jr., Obie Award winner, New York actor, educator, performance and cabaret artist, recognized for the Tony Award and Pulitzer Prize, winning Broadway musical A Strange Loop, followed by White Girl in Danger, by Second Stage, and The Vineyard. And you know what? I could just go on because James has got a ton of stuff coming up, and this is what we go through. No, I want our audience to understand.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen,
like, look how well we fit. Right? James Jackson Jr.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you all like?
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm all like cozy. Like it's tight.
Yes, it is.
But I like it.
We say that all the time. We like it tight. So, welcome, of course, to the show. And I don't need to welcome you to Pangea because you did a sold-out show here in June.
I did. It was fun. I was here June 1st and 2nd. It was the beginning of Pride.
I love it. You kicked off
great.
Pride.
Oh my God, I had so much fun. I can't wait to come back.
And I can't wait to see you when you come back because
It'll happen.
I get so booked. You saw with Tim and I. I'm like, what do you mean you're coming with me to see? And it's like everything overlaps. Everything's everywhere all at once. So yes, you let me and Tim know. Both of us know when you're going to be back.
Absolutely.
I
promise I will be back.
But I was sorry to miss your show, but I was hot to trot, so I'm like, let's get him on TriVersity Talk, and then I called you about here because you've got a lot of things that are upcoming.
I don't know how that happened. Like I'm busy all of a sudden.
I love that you're
wonderful.
Busy. I guess is what we wanted.
Yes,
no,
right.
But
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yes.
And I have a little warning for both of you. I already told. Can I call you James?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
I already told James when he came in. We're all busy in August, but here's the deal. The stars are not aligning in August. It's going to be a really bad retrograde in terms of schedules, in terms of frustrations.
Oh, yeah, I'm already there.
So is James.
I said, like, look, my morning has already been a thing.
Right. So for those of you that are sensitive to that, you know what? If you don't believe in this, that's okay. When things start going amok for you, call me. I'll explain to you what's happening. But yeah, so you already feel it. So.
I do. I'm getting through it.
Yeah.
I said I told you a second ago. I was like, I can't control what happens to the things. I can just put the thing on the calendar and plan for it.
Right.
And show up and do my best work.
Right.
Yep,
and that's really what it's about, showing
Yes.
up and doing your best work.
I can't control anything else.
Right.
Now your best work, okay? Because you've been a cabaret artist for 15 or 20 years.
I've been doing this for 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
Which has been lovely.
it's lovely. And
Yeah.
I think I told you in the other show that to me, that's not a long time. I've interviewed people on here
It
that have been doing it for 40 years.
In hindsight, like it feels long and it doesn't at the same
Right.
time. It's a lot I'm carrying, but it also doesn't feel, it feels like it was yesterday.
Right.
Like, I remember the first one.
And also those strange loop, you were working in that 13 years?
Like 13 and a half
Wow.
almost.
People don't-
in the while they were developing it.
So from literally like Michael's bedroom.
Wow.
Like,
You know
with
what? Those
just
are
some
the
sketches and
stories.
things on a
Concepts.
clipboard.
Wow,
all
that's
the way
amazing.
Amazing.
Every workshop into
Oh my God,
Off-Broadway
James, that's
and
incredible.
Broadway. It takes that long.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
No, and I love you saying this because when that show like swept the Tonys, people were like, where the hell did this come from? And I like, we
It's
know
just
because
been
we're in
around.
theater, but
Right.
right. And you know,
We
the
have
blood
been-
and sweat, you know, that's a long time. It's time, it's money, it's rehearsals.
Right.
And it's about believing in a project.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were told for a very long time that the show was, too black,
Too black,
too
right.
gay,
Mhm, right.
it was too everything, and specifically, this will never be on Broadway. Like,
But, but who
Wow.
is the they? Who are the they that
guess
say that?
the theys that you bring your stuff to,
Right.
in the
Yeah.
hopes of letting them open a gate and let you
Like
in.
some of
those-
the Broadway
um,
producers
yeah.
or
Pick
some,
a person, a
Right,
theater owner,
right.
or a producer,
Yep,
or whatever.
yep.
Just the thing was too black, too gay, to all of the things you're not supposed to do on Broadway. And then I
Wow.
find it funny to then go to Broadway and I always say we went to Broadway and we took their things.
We
it's-
left with their
yeah,
things.
we didn't give us a Tony. You all did.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone else decided on a Pulitzer Prize.
No,
So that's-
you
So
know what?
it is a Pulitzer
Pulitzer
Prize
Prize,
winning,
yeah.
and
Michael won a
Obie and
Pulitzer,
Tony winning.
yeah,
and-
and 2 Tony Awards, Best
Yes.
Musical.
And
which
Michael
is-
was an usher. We have to remember.
Michael was an usher. Now,
Right.
was he an usher when I first met him? Probably. Yeah.
probably,
Michael was an
yeah.
usher.
He was an usher at, I think, The Lion King and maybe briefly Mary Poppins. It was all
Oh,
Disney.
wow.
And all this was brewing
Yeah.
inside of him, this
Yeah.
talent, this ability, what's the moral of the story? You don't give up on your dream, even when they tell you, nah, it's not
Yeah.
good. He never
Well,
gave up.
because the problem is that most people, I would say most, cannot share your vision.
It's
They,
well, yeah, I think,
and they make those decisions or say those things based upon what they've experienced up to that
Right.
point.
you've got to. Yeah.
You got something new and fresh and original.
And out of the
and
box.
they're
Well,
oh
you've
wait,
gotta
no,
know
no,
what
no, no,
you're-
you can't do that.
You have to know what you're doing.
Right.
You can.
Most definitely.
I'm talking about this stuff in my show that I'm doing this weekend up in
Mm-hmm.
Provincetown. You have to keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yes.
Right.
And that, like, they told us that in middle school for a reason.
Yeah.
I think, like,
That's-
completely.
Right.
I see what's on your paper, but it doesn't serve me.
Oh my
Right.
God.
In
That's
any way.
that's
Right.
brilliant.
You have got to
Absolutely.
keep your eyes on your own paper.
Mhm.
Because what's the point? I'm
Right.
super nosy, so I'm going to look at the
Right. You're gonna be like peering.
Yeah, but it doesn't serve me.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, and I
What's
have
on
to-
your paper that
yeah,
comes from you is what's
just
gonna
for
serve
me.
you.
It doesn't
Right.
serve me at all to work on your thing, to steal your thing, to even borrow your thing.
Right.
Mhm.
It only serves me to work on what is in front of me. I think, and that's hard to follow.
Right, right.
Because I don't know, we feel like we aren't something unless they,
Right.
whoever they
right.
are, let us in.
But you know
Until you
what?
have their
I'm going
support.
to add
Mhm.
into this.
Mm.
And my late husband, Alan, who passed away in March, Alan was very out of the box. And
Yes.
one of the things he used to say, Wendy, that system, they're never going to buy you and they're never going to buy it. And
Mhm.
Strange Loop was not system. And
Mhm.
that's what we're
Right,
talking
right.
about. You keeping your eye on your own page and understanding that the system may not buy what you're selling. So you can't be afraid to say, I'm just going to move forward with this.
You
No.
have to.
Can I ask, how did Michael maneuver that?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Well, you keep writing your thing.
Uh-huh.
Don't you have your thing that
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you've been working on
Mhm.
forever?
Absolutely.
What would it take for me to take it away from you? You
Hmm.
wouldn't.
Right,
You keep
right.
writing your thing.
Well, because it's my
Uh-huh.
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even if someone says no, you're gonna I'll go do the thing they want me to do, but I'm gonna come back home and work on my thing.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And that was the same thing for all of us too. All of us having been told, "Oh, this is never going to be on Broadway. You're never going to even put it on stage." We went off and did our other things.
Right.
You did
Right.
I remember, I did the things that a 20-something, early 30s-something Black gay man in musical theater would do at the time, 20-something years ago.
Mhm.
If I did one more production of Smokey Joe's Cabin, or Five Guys Named
Right,
Mo.
because you're right.
Yes,
My
right,
cousin Mo, right.
You did the pre-approved black shows. that
Yes,
some
right.
regional theater
System, that
would
was
do.
system.
Yeah.
That's where you
Yes,
were in the
So-
system.
Yes.
So when we would come home from doing the thing that would pay the bills and
Mhm.
that sort of thing, our friend was working on something that spoke to who we were. It spoke to some of our lived experiences, and it felt so truthful.
And I love how devoted
Mhm.
all of
Yeah,
you were.
yeah.
Yeah.
That everybody.
If you go out there and deal with them enough, you're going to want to come home.
Yes.
And deal with
The them.
Yes.
And deal
The
with
great
your,
them.
your people.
Yeah.
What was the like crossover point where you realized the product, as I call it,
Mm.
was going to be moved?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
how
was
did
it,
he
yeah.
maneuver onto
Right.
off Broadway
Right.
and then onto Broadway?
You keep trying. So, we did it off Broadway, and down to the first performance, we were like, is this going to work?
Right.
Even literally
right.
on stage.
Right.
And where
So-
was it
Uh-huh.
off Broadway? Where
We
did
were
you-
at Playwrights Horizons.
Okay.
Which
Oh,
is, like
excellent.
the
Yeah,
mecca
yes.
of
Yeah.
Broadway, the things that have gone through there. and
Yeah.
ended up with
Right.
Pulitzers and Tonys.
Right.
The history of Playwrights Horizons is amazing. So we started there, and even at that first performance, I will never forget it. Jam, John Andrew, who
Uh-huh.
plays Spot 4 in the show. No, wait, 1, 2, 3. Yes, 4. I can never
Oh,
remember.
4, which
He
is
plays
I forget
John
it.
Andrew. He ends up playing the mother.
The mother.
The mother,
Okay.
okay.
He sings the song periodically. So he and I, we were in the dressing room together, and I was like, at Playwrights, there's no stage door, so you have to walk out through the audience, like through the lobby.
Uh-huh.
And we were like, is this? We got a standing ovation, sure. First preview, and we were like, but did they hate it? Like, I mean, we talked about uncomfortable things.
Wow.
I'm not walking out there without you. So
Uh-huh.
we went arm in arm.
Oh my God! Right.
I was like, just put your head down and we're just going to walk. And these two old women, we will never forget this. And the two of us still talk about this. These two older women, they were sisters. I think one was maybe like 83, one was maybe 80. And they were two Jewish women. And they said, that was our family. And we were both like,
Wow.
No,
connect
I
to it.
love
no,
that.
no, girl, that wasn't your story.
But
And they were
they-
like, no, our brother was gay. That is how our mother treated him. And in that
Uh-huh.
exact moment, we were like,
Oh,
this story
Connects.
seems so specific, but it
Right.
does speak to so many
Yeah.
people.
It's universal.
where
Yeah.
they
Right.
are. And I think that is because of the years of work that we spent on making as much of it as truthful as possible
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and not trying to lampoon anyone.
right.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, if you set out to just tell the truth and to not make fun of,
Uh-huh.
you end up telling something that's super specific, but somehow universal.
Yes.
And I think that's what we
absolutely.
So it was in that moment. That's one of the very first times that we were like, well, damn.
Well, we
Yeah. Yeah.
we might have
People
something
get it.
here,
People
right?
get it. Yeah.
Even I remember someone asking Michael once when we were, I think, nearing the end or had just finished off Broadway, and they were like, "So, what would you think? Do you think this show will ever go to Broadway?" And Michael was like, "Yeah, I'll believe that. Like, ask me again on actual opening night of Broadway."
And they got
Because
to.
We
Right.
didn't believe if you have been told for that long that you
Right.
will not be somewhere.
I've been
Why
there.
But this is a valuable lesson you're sharing with
You
everyone
would
here
naturally
today.
start to
How
believe.
did it? How did
Absolutely.
the crossover happen?
Our producer who found us, we did a lot of concerts over the years, and there was a team of producers who found us early on in that playwrights world. Once we started doing some
Mhm.
workshops that playwrights was involved with, and our producer, the lead producer, she found us during that time, and she's the one who sort of championed the show. It was also during the initial, like the onset of a President Orange person. So there were a lot of feelings. I remember us doing
That's
a workshop
Interesting.
during like when he won. And so I remember going to a rehearsal that was, we're under the auspices of Playwrights Horizons at this time. We have a lead producer in place, but it was the day after that election.
Wow.
That's tough.
And I remember being on the PATH train and in the subway coming into the city, looking at people like, was it you? Did you?
Oh, you're
Yeah,
the one
right.
that filled in that dot.
Right.
that
And
made
we
him
all
win.
got to rehearsal that day, and it was on everybody's mind and heart and spirit. And that, I don't know if that orange fueled some of it, but
Possibly.
this thing that happened put us all sort of in a tunnel vision of like, let's just
Mhm,
continue to work on this, continue to do our
Right.
Right.
Our work.
Right.
Right. Our
keep
craft.
our eyes on our own
Right.
paper,
Right.
Yes.
and
Yes.
continue to tell the truth. And it eventually paid off. Other theaters got involved. The theater we went to in Washington, D.C., Woolly Mammoth, they got involved. And then all of these theaters also became producers of the show once it moved on from one to the next.
Nice.
And while we were at Woolly Mammoth in Washington, D.C., we found out we got the Lyceum and we would come to Broadway. that
Oh my
spring.
God.
And even
Now-
then,
Yeah, even then, it's
even
like we're
then,
not there yet. We
that,
won't believe
like-
it till we're in the Lyceum.
right, that like
Right.
November of maybe 2022, no, 2021, I think.
Which was in the middle of the pandemic.
We're in peak Omicron.
I
like
love
the
that.
height of Omicron.
That's a good name for a show, by the way.
Right.
Peak Omicron.
Every touring show that came through Washington D.C. was closing, canceling performances,
Right.
except for us and the Britney Spears musical. We were
Oh,
the-
I love
we were
it.
the only two things running. The Kennedy Center was closed, everything was closed, and it was us. And we found out that we got the Lyceum and we were going to go to Broadway, and we were still like, nah.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not
okay.
happening.
Well, let's fast forward. Opening night
Mhm.
Yeah.
at the Lyceum. Tell me
Still
that.
pinching yourself.
Tell
Yeah.
me that feeling that you had, that everybody had.
I think it was really because we've now performed the show before off Broadway in DC. So now
It
we
was
all
just
had a
another
very
stage.
individual. In some as a group, it was just another stage. But I know that individually, we all
Wow.
had moments backstage.
Yeah,
I
we're
would
like on the
imagine. I
what
couldn't
happened-
imagine.
Broadway.
We all there's 7 of us in the cast. It's not a big
Uh-huh.
cast at all. So we all caught because we're the new show, we're the new thing.
Right.
We're the hit thing, we're the black thing, we're the gay thing,
Uh-huh.
whatever. So we're doing all these interviews around it, and somewhere in that we got COVID. And like one by one, like it
Dropped
it
like
took all of us
flies.
out
Right.
my
immediately. And we were
goodness.
like, oh, and like 4 of us got COVID, and they were trying to figure out what do we do? Do we hold the opening? They ended up holding things, and we finally did get to go on. Maybe I think a week and a half after we were supposed to
Uh-huh.
initially open, and except for Jam. So the rest of us had our official opening night, and Jam came the next day. But
Mhm.
I saw each of us backstage at different times having like a private like, oh,
Yeah.
Right.
This is really
real.
happening.
and like the emotion of it, the
I
crying.
imagine.
And the funniest thing, Jam came to work the next day to do the show, and I was like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "I'm fine." What? And I'm like, "Well, you're making your Broadway debut."
Absolutely.
Right.
I made mine last night, so I'm a little better at this. I
Yeah,
know a little
right.
more.
I'm seasoned now.
I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm totally fine. This works."
Right.
And I was like, "I'm gonna come check on you."
Yeah,
And it's about
exactly.
an hour and 15 minutes.
See how you
Exactly.
are.
And I remember I knew where it would happen in the show, and I went out of my way backstage to go
Uh-huh.
find him, and I
Oh.
followed the sound of him sniffling. I'm just,
Uh-huh.
You knew he would.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, girl, how's it going?" And it was a very, at that point, we knew how to do this as a team, but it was a very individual thing.
Yes.
These
yes,
are people and
yes.
actors. These are family members of mine at this point.
Right.
who
Right.
I've loved watching those 7 of us create.
Mhm.
And I know what each of us has been through struggle wise of trying to get them to let us in somewhere.
It's an amazing
For
story.
and it's so I wanted this so badly for them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
for,
yes.
for my,
yes.
my family
Absolutely.
members.
Uh-huh.
That was your
my
family.
coworkers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what we have each been through. I knew what this was. We knew how to do this show at this point.
Uh-huh.
Like, but I wanted the world to see these
Uh-huh.
people on this
Yep.
stage
Yep.
telling this story. So it was such a thrill. I still can like feel the energy of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Because
good.
because a lot of times I know for myself, and I have like different projects that I work on, but like you mentioned that tunnel vision, like where I'm
Mhm.
working on this is what I'm working on right now, and blah blah blah
Mhm.
blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, like with your process that it does get to Broadway, it would be like, okay, just keep going,
Yeah.
going, without like really stopping
And smelling
and
the
pull-
roses.
and
right.
lifting
right,
and lifting your
right.
head above the water
Mhm.
and really
I-
absorb
Look
and
at it.
appreciate
Look at it. I'm on Broadway.
I
Uh-huh.
always try to do that.
I try
I'm-
too, but it's
I'm-
not easy.
It's not easy at all.
It's not
But again,
easy.
like I said, I'm super nosy. So
Uh-huh.
I'm super nosy, but I'm also really good at my job.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going
Uh-huh.
to get on stage and do the thing. I'll say your
Right.
lines, I'll sing your song, but I'm also the one who's like, oh my God, is that Midler?
Yeah,
Is that,
Yeah,
right.
Like Michelle Obama's here. Michelle,
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Just do the show. Do the
Do the
show.
show. Right. Don't even think about it. Do the
That's
show.
Michelle Obama. She's in the 4th.
Oh
Like,
my
I
God.
remember my friend Amy, who I've known the 20 years I've been in New York, she came to see the show. She was so happy to see me on Broadway. And her and her husband were like 4th or 5th row in the orchestra in the center. And this was back, everyone was still wearing masks in the audience. And she was seated next to Bette Midler.
Oh my God.
And you could tell it was Bette Midler, even in the mask, those cheekbones.
yeah.
So I can have a conversation with Amy without saying a word.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Just- I can
Because
look at
you're,
her.
you're
Yes.
dear friend.
I've
Yeah.
known we've been through so much together, and she was trying to have this conversation with me while she's in the audience, and I'm
Ah!
backstage, literally giving
Next to
like
Bette
thinking
Midler.
about the stuff,
Right.
and she's trying to say to me,
Next to that brother.
and I'm trying to say back to her, bitch, I see you.
Yeah, I- know that
I can't talk to you right now. I'm performing for Bette Midler.
Right.
But Bette Midler came up to meet us after the show. She came up on stage to meet the entire cast, and she was in tears because she said every single person, and I just want you all to know this, every single person that built me, that built the Divine Miss M, that built the Bette Midler that you see before you, that you hold as whatever, every single one of them is gone.
Wow.
And I never in my entire life thought that I would see their story in a Broadway musical.
Wow.
So what you are doing, the
What a
story you are
gift.
telling is so important. And
Mhm.
you have to know that in my entire life, I never thought that I would see these people again.
Wow.
And there it was on stage,
Wow.
right?
And that has been the reaction. I went to see the regional theater premiere of the show up in Boston a few months ago at Speakeasy Stage, and it was the same reaction. The lights came. I'd never seen the show because I've been in it. So I went to see it.
Isn't that an interesting perspective?
I had never seen the
that
show.
happened to me. Yeah.
And you're watching your show,
the
right?
lights
And your
come
role
up, and I'm like,
performed
oh,
by
that's
somebody.
wrong.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
That's not right.
Oh, you should turn around.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, let it go, James. It's not your show.
Right. It's not your show.
But it was done, and they were so amazing. And the lights came up afterward, and there were still people sitting in the audience, gay men of a certain age, still sitting in the audience because they were so moved by what they had just done. And the same thing happened on Broadway. That's why we came out the front door instead of the stage door, because we got to go see what we just did to people.
Yes.
So the same thing happened there.
Great.
And I remember I walked up to this couple at Speakeasy after the show. They were, one husband was crying and the other one was consoling him. And I guess, as it turns out, one husband had seen the show on Broadway, and he said I had to bring my husband. So I'm consoling the one who's crying, and I'm like, I know it's really difficult. This is a lot of stuff to take in. It's a Broadway musical. Who knew? And the other husband looked up at me and was like, "Oh my God, it's you! How are you?
How did you do that?
was
How'd
like,
you come up
yeah,
on stage
I
to
know.
hear?
Now, for those who may not be familiar with A Strange Loop on the Broadway show, now you played.
I was Usher's self-loathing. So
Self-loathing. Okay, which is a great role.
Part of the reason I came out front too was also to tell people I'm not a bitch.
Yes, right.
I swear
I'm really a nice person.
I'm not a bitch. I just play one on stage.
But please tell them the concept, because it was a brilliant concept.
The show.
Tell them what it was about.
A Strange Loop is
actually about one person.
The tagline essentially is that it's about a character named Usher, who also works as an usher at a Broadway show. But he is also a musical theater writer who's writing a show about a Black gay man named Usher, who's writing a musical about a Black gay. So it's just that over and over and over. And the six of us, the other folks, play his thoughts. You're the self-loathing.
Self-loathing. Somebody else plays
his financial faggotry.
Yeah.
I love the names.
Somebody else is like the insecurity or the
His
anxiety.
sexual ambivalence.
Yes.
So it ran the spectrum of this sort of queer spectrum of characters that might be
and all those voices in the head,
which was really
that are in a lot of people's heads, including the two Jewish older sisters. That we were like, that's what it was.
Caught up in it that we were like, oh, this is so weird. It's so specific. It's so black. It is too black and too gay. That's what we've been told. So it can't be anybody else's story.
But it's what it tells you. It was a lie. What they told you.
To then hear how this landed with people with straight
right
people.
Yeah,
like, I think that's so isn't that theater? Isn't
yes, that's what theater should
do.
Exactly.
We're doing a weird thing anyway. We're sitting around in a dark room with a bunch of strangers. Someone says turn off all the lights even.
Yeah.
And then some idiots are going to get up like 30 or 40 feet in front of us and they're like doing this kind of thing. And we're just supposed to buy into it. But nosy me on stage is so in love with that, because I tell this story all the time. I looked out in the audience, and I do this all the time. There was someone laughing, sitting next to someone crying, sitting next to someone who was pissed off.
That's
and they all came together. And they all got to talk about it.
Yeah.
They all got to get on the subway home. Or
they were all going to talk about it.
And like, why were you laughing? Well, why were you crying? Well, why were you pissed off? I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. You did your job.
Theater is that's never happened to me coming out of a production of Music Man.
Right.
You know? Like, not to knock Music Man, but
but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But
I
this
like
was
something that makes you kind of go like,
yeah, because this show that you did carry this show with you when you left the theater.
Absolutely. I met one of my dearest friends. I met an older woman named Fern at the Broadway flea market. And the first words she ever said to me were, I couldn't stand your show. And I
Wow.
said, okay, well, tell me why.
Yeah.
And
right.
she and I are dear friends to this. I had lunch with her just last week.
What was
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, what was her why?
So, Fern is a woman from Florida. I forget, Sanford, Florida, she lives.
Mhm.
And she occasionally comes up to New York, and she invests in some Broadway shows here and there. She comes up to New York every year to see the shows that win the Tony. So
Mhm.
she came with her sister, I believe, and her nephew. And they have a theater weekend. So they saw
That's
us,
cool.
and then maybe Music Man, and then maybe like Kimberly Akimbo or something like that.
Mhm.
And she was like, I couldn't stand your show. It was not for me. Blah, 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 blah. But what I can tell you is we saw these 3 shows, and we've been talking about your show.
Mhm.
Yes. Right. Couldn't
Yes.
stand it, but that's the one
Yeah.
they were talking
And
about.
I was like, well, let's talk about that.
Uh-huh.
And we have become very dear friends. But
I
that was
love
a
that.
lot of people's experience. I was interviewed by someone with the Boston Globe like last week about some of my Provincetown shows coming up. And he was like, a lot of people didn't like A Strange Loop. And I'm like, all right, let's talk about it.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know.
But you know what? It's got them talking, and it provoked
Absolutely.
a way of thinking, and to
Absolutely.
be able to do that. And keep in mind,
It's
we're
cool.
glossing about this time. People were in masks.
Yeah.
That's when this.
Right.
Because we're not
Right.
like, someone referred to this show recently as like a woke show. This show was around before we started
Thank
going
you.
down
That's
all those
right.
routes.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
this show just brought up and talked about things that someone specifically told us, no,
Right.
you
Right.
can't do
Right.
that. There's a scene in there where Usher is presenting his work to sort of the
Mhm.
guardians of musical theater.
Yes.
And they're saying things that were said of
Right,
like,
right.
well, you can't say that in a musical.
Mhm.
You can't say N in a musical.
Mhm.
Those are literally my lines. These are things that were actually said
Uh-huh. Right.
in rooms that we were in. There's
Right.
things that were
Mhm.
said to Michael along his journey, and
Wow.
he just kept writing, and
Uh-huh.
he kept
just kept
doing
writing.
the
And
thing.
well,
Just
and he
kept
would
doing the workshops.
incorporate those
Yeah.
moments
Yeah,
into
they were
the script.
great.
because
Yeah.
didn't you?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
I think there's something really special about that.
Absolutely. It was it is a remarkable, remarkable show. I saw it just before it closed,
Okay.
and we were sitting in the audience, and it wasn't starting, and they said it'll start in 10 minutes, which, okay, that's odd. And then it would start about 15 more minutes.
Mhm.
And then they came on and said, we have to cancel tonight's show because someone tested positive for COVID.
Oh, I remember that.
I was there that
Now,
night,
I will tell you,
but I
we
came back a
had-
couple nights or a
this
week
is
later.
a thing that is, I don't know how much it is still happening on Broadway, but remember what I found so interesting, those first shows that came out right at when Broadway reopened.
Mhm.
And Broadway had also come under fire for not really having too many shows with that many folks of color
Mhm.
involved. And every show that came out when Broadway reopened, there were like 9 shows that were just all black.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Black, the play,
Couldn't
black,
be-
black,
couldn't
black,
be
black.
the musical.
Black couldn't be
They
black
all
enough.
came out.
Right.
Black
And they
comedy.
all closed in a second
Yep.
because no one was prepared with the tools of how do we market that, how we do
Right.
those things.
Right.
The same thing was still true when we came about, probably like 10 months or so after that. I don't think they were prepared for us to be liked or to be
Mhm.
a hit. So producers who are making these decisions are also the ones doing things like hiring understudies,
Mhm.
which are a very necessary thing. That's the only
Absolutely.
thing
Yeah.
that have ever kept Broadway running. Like, since our patron saint is Lainey Kazan,
Mhm.
like queen of the understudies. But they have kept Broadway afloat for years. And
Absolutely.
I don't
So why
believe-
were they closing down? Because
If
someone in the cast tested positive for COVID.
It could
if you
spread
have
to the
7
others.
folks
No, I
in
know.
a cast,
I know the reason
Uh-huh.
why, but go ahead. What
if
were
you have 7 folks in a cast and we are all principal actors, as was
Mhm.
determined by every union imaginable, you would think that someone would have the wherewithal or the actual just common brain power to hire
That's my point.
coverage for
Right.
those
Mhm.
7 people. But it seems as though people are more interested in hiring just enough coverage to get
I
by.
see,
My
see.
point is, it boiled down to really money.
Yeah,
She
so
gets-
mathematically,
And then like not doing
Yeah.
the show.
so
Mhm.
mathematically, at some
Yeah.
point, you're going to end up with like, oh well, we don't have enough people to actually do.
Mhm. Right,
Show.
right,
Right.
right.
So
Right.
we have
And
to
that's
cancel.
what happened to you,
Now,
Tim, that
you
night,
could say,
know?
you could put that out there. There could be even a marketing thing. That
Mhm.
oh, we only have, due to whatever constraints, we only have this many people covering the show, or look at what they're doing, or look at how we're able to still get through. That could be talked about, but that would be, I think, a lot of focus put back on faith in your actors
Mhm.
and faith in what actual understudies do. They have the hardest jobs.
Oh, God,
on
yeah.
Oh my God,
Broadway.
it's a really
So
tough
if,
job.
if say 2 people are covered by one person,
Right.
and
Right.
two of those people are out.
Right.
Yeah,
because
you're,
of-
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You can't.
It's
You
just
can't
a
do the
little thing
show.
called a global pandemic.
Right.
And so
I guess that's my
Yeah.
point. No one was like ready for this or prepared for
Well,
this. These
Well,
shows were shutting.
had never been through
do
anything
you
like
know
that.
Right,
none
but-
of it, that word that we
It's a
what's that
no-brainer.
word that we can't shake it unprecedented.
Unprecedented,
yes.
right?
Since we had
right.
never been around anything like this or
Right.
dealt with anything like this, the only people it seemed that were prepared to handle how do we get through this, how do we stay healthy, were the actors. And watching the
Mhm.
actors,
Right.
especially the
Thank
younger
you.
actors, advocate for themselves and say like,
Mhm.
I can either do your 6 a.m. press thing, or I can do your show tonight because I would like to be healthy
Right.
enough
Right.
to do your show.
Right.
That's an interesting way to advocate. At
And they
my
never had to
age-
do that
No,
before. And
at
so
my
you certainly
age, I
never
want to
did.
like flip the tables and be like, "How dare you ask me that? I'm not doing
Yeah.
this. Ask
There's
me to
a
do-
pandemic
ask me
going
to do
on.
one more thing. I'm tired." But
I have to stay healthy.
right, watching these younger folks advocate for themselves was
That's
such a
great.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It is not. They did not hire themselves.
Hmm.
So there is, I think, a world that we now live in where COVID is still very much a thing.
Oh
And-
my!
and-
Even
yeah.
now, while we're all sitting here,
Yeah.
in people I know,
Yeah,
it's
I
running
know
rampant
people, yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Right.
we really.
Right.
I would think that 7 principal folks in a show that is now a Pulitzer Prize winner and has won 2 Tony
Yeah.
Awards. Before the Tony Awards, we've been nominated for the most shows that season. I would think that there's a way to spin, especially when you have like 20-something producers who are mostly celebrities. I think there's a way to say, oh, like we could have understudies for everybody.
That is
Look
the
at-
point.
right.
Look at
right.
what we could also look at the opportunities we could provide. We have,
I don't think that they think of. They don't think
Yeah.
of that. Right. But
Yeah.
you're right.
but I
Right.
think there's such an opportunity that was there that
Yeah.
like maybe just we didn't come up with it in time. So
Mhm.
I hope that what is so beautiful, and I'm so honored by, young folks saw the show over and over as much as they could
Nice.
afford to get it if they could, and young kids who not just want to be actors, they want to be producers.
I love it.
Mhm.
They want to
Right.
be investors.
Yeah.
They want to be theater.
They want to
owners.
know how it
And those
happens.
young people, because Broadway is run by pretty much the same age bracket.
Uh-huh.
These young people are going to be the ones making decisions very
Right.
soon.
Right.
And I'm so honored that they saw this thing and they were like, "Oh, because you did, I can."
Yes. Right.
And I think that's.
Right.
I remember we were still in previews, and it's the summer, so kids were about to be summer, so kids were coming to town to move into their dorms or whatever. And these young kids who were about to go to AMDA came to the show.
Hmm.
And we met some of them out front. So they're probably, 19 years old,
Mhm.
about to start their freshman year at AMDA. And it looked like the Rainbow Coalition of kids. Black,
Uh-huh.
white, brown,
Oh, I
purple,
love
it.
gay, straight, queer, everything. And a bunch of them said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is happening." One girl said to me, "I cannot believe I get this now. I'm not wasting my parents' money."
Wow.
So
Right.
I think that means
Everything this show represented was
Right.
incredible.
Right.
And it's such,
Right.
it can seem like such a slogan that's on a picket sign of like, representation matters.
Right.
But these kids saw themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, they're like, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
Right.
Simply because we did it. If we lasted 5 minutes,
Right.
we lasted 5
But
minutes.
you showed them
Yeah.
that you can do
Yeah.
it. We took it
I
this
think that's
far.
absolutely amazing.
We spent 13 years
But-
and we got it on
Right.
Broadway.
And
Yeah.
this show just had everything, and at times was very difficult to
Yeah,
watch. There were
yeah.
moments in there that were just heart wrenching, and oh my god.
And so is Shapoopy. Shapoopy
yeah,
is
but that's life.
Shapoopy is hard for me to sit through when I go see Music Man. No one's ever
Uh-huh.
explained it to me. So there's something in a musical for everyone. People
Yes.
go to
Right,
the
that
theater
they can
to
connect
escape
to.
into something.
Uh-huh.
There are things so that also means that sometimes you're going to run into things that are not safe or don't
Yes.
feel
Right. Right.
correct
Uh-huh.
for you. And isn't that life?
Absolutely.
Isn't
That is
that-
totally
That's
life.
exactly what life
Yeah.
is.
Well-
And at the end of the day, you want to be entertained. You want
Right.
to take away
Absolutely.
some. You want to take away some.
And speaking of entertainment,
Yes.
Mm.
let's talk. We're going to talk about
Yeah,
your
your
cabaret, but
cabaret,
first
yeah.
we have a video.
Yes.
Let's
we
take a
have-
look
Oh
at
yes.
the video.
Let's take a look at this
Okay.
video.
If I gave you the sky babe, my love, believe me now.
That's why I chose it.
Wow.
Just from the very
Wow.
beginning. It was like,
Wow.
whoa.
Thank you.
Well, that's what you do.
Just
you know?
there's so
And
many
to be able
levels.
to do it from here,
What
you
you're
know, on
supposed
this.
to do.
Right,
Right.
You know?
right.
But
That's
watching it,
what's-
I'm not seeing it live on stage, and to watch it in the tiny screen on my computer when
But
you sent it to
that-
me, well, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Thank you.
That was a
Right.
master performance.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
That
you.
was
Yeah.
every nuance, every
Yay.
gesture, every
Right.
what had feeling behind it. Had
Thank you,
some-
Tim. Right.
Yeah.
The physicality and the
Uh-huh.
emotional level
Thank you.
where
Yeah.
you just hit
Absolutely
every
gorgeous.
single one.
Thank you. It's a
Yeah.
songwriter named Jonathan Brooke.
Mhm.
Or it's her song. There was a group in the 80s called The Story. Remember them? The
No,
Story?
Mhm.
tell
Sort
us.
of like a folkish duo,
Uh-huh.
like in that, like two women singing together era of like
Uh-huh.
Oh, I
Indigo
love,
Girls
you
were
used to
happening.
love those.
The
Yeah.
Story was a great group, and Jonathan Brooke was one of the singers in that. And she,
Jonathan.
and that's not Jonathan. It's
Right. It's
Jonathan without the
Jonathan.
N.
Jonathan.
Right.
Jonathan
Jonathan.
Brooke,
Right.
who's an amazing artist. She has there's a live album she has recorded at Joe's Pub that's great, and it's a song of hers. But during the pandemic, she was doing all of these like concerts from her bedroom.
Right.
Uh-huh. Right.
Like
Many
we all
of
were
us
doing.
were.
Yeah.
And
God.
she had a thing on her one of these concerts that she said, okay, write into me and send in your dream Jonathan set list. And my partner, Tom, loves her as well. He loves music and is not a musician, but somehow like loves, has
Uh-huh.
an amazing taste in music. And so Tom sent in a set list to her. But in his set list, he wrote like stories of like, so I was this old when this happened, or like this situation was happening in my life and I used to always listen to this song. And she played his set list and read the stories.
Oh
that he
my
did.
God.
But they started like an email
Uh-huh.
relationship. And I was like, are you talking to Jonathan Brooks?
How
How dare you?
That's
I-
amazing.
She's mine.
Right. During the pandemic, I was sewing. He got me a sewing machine. So I started making caftans and all these things for people and pajama pants. I was making like
Oh,
James
nice.
Jammies, I was called.
I love it.
And I was like, I got to make a pair of pants for Jonathan Brooks.
Oh my God.
We've since become like friends with her, but she came to see A Strange Loop on Broadway. We've gone to
Oh
see-
wow.
It's been really
It's
weird.
a great
Uh-huh.
story.
Yeah.
But it was amazing how during the pandemic, a lot of people were accessible that
We were.
normally would not
Totally.
be.
Yeah. And it was like,
Uh-huh.
wait, is she really responding?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, great.
This show was created because of the
Yeah, same,
pandemic.
same.
We were sitting
Yeah,
out in
yes,
front under a
absolutely.
heat lamp.
And we're like,
And I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
she goes-
Tim, it's dark in there. And my PR people have great people that all their shows were canceled.
Right.
Their
And they're
tours were
just sitting
canceled.
at
I'm like,
home.
I'm
did
like,
you start
yeah.
on like? Did you
Right
start
here in
on
this
stream?
corner.
Oh my God,
But
I
we
love that.
started what, like
StreamYard,
winter of 2020, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We started
January.
early.
It was
Yeah, like
Janu-
right at the
January of 2020. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. We both love interviewing people.
or
We
January
both have done it.
2021.
And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, we can totally do this in the corner of the restaurant as long as somebody lets us in, because
Right.
nothing
And
was
that
going
how
on,
we
and that was
started,
how it
and
was
that's
born.
how you got here.
Oh, I
on the
love
We
it.
Toast
were
Up.
streaming everybody from LA at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Once we
Wow.
figured out how to do these things, we were like, oh, okay.
Well, we never
Yeah.
figured it out. That's why we have a producer. Tim was doing that and
I was
hosting.
doing, yeah,
Tim,
like,
if you let him like pick 12 hats off the wall, he'll take all 12.
He's-
Whereas like, not
He's
for
gonna
me.
find
I'm
a
like, no, I can do those three.
Yeah.
And you need to get somebody to do the rest
He's
of
gonna
them.
find the 13th.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
He will too. He would poke it out.
either
Like, we
that or
need
I'll
to have
call
a-
you to make me one.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I would.
Yeah,
But
he-
I'm very interested in James Jammies. We'll talk
yeah.
later. We will
You
talk
still,
later.
you still do it. You're a creative
Broadway
person.
slowed me down.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
It does that.
can I go do these 8 shows a
It's a
week?
little demanding.
And so, and I
Right.
haven't gotten. I've sewn for myself. a
Uh-huh.
lot,
Right.
But I want to get back to it because
Uh-huh.
there was such a joy. in
Yeah.
it.
That's nice.
And
you
I
have
was
a
so
passion for it.
fascinated by because I'm talking to folks over Zoom and FaceTime and whatever,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, so go. What are your measurements? And people were like, no, I don't. And I was like,
That-
I was amazed that no one knew their measurements.
Uh-huh.
I was amazed what I learned about how women's sizing is so utterly asinine.
Right?
It's just the dumbest thing in the world. Whereas men, Like if
We
it's-
have to be literal.
It's the 38
It
inch
is-
this, and
Yeah,
it's a
right.
so that means
Yes,
it's a size
exactly.
38.
That's
Right.
what it is.
And
Women's
women, it's
sizing,
like,
right.
oh my, and every store is different. And I was like, this is ludicrous.
Every
And they got the
manufacturer
petite,
is different.
right,
And
right.
they got the petite
I-
and the
right.
misses and the this and the
I
that and
was
the
like,
4
I'm
and the
just-
2 and the
I'm a little thick in the middle, and I got really long legs.
Right, but a size 8 in one person is a size 12 in
Right.
another.
Right. So
no,
that
I
kind of
can't
stuff
even
to
begin
me-
Tim,
to-
at H&M, now I'm a fit model. I work for
Uh-huh.
major manufacturers and I know measurements and stuff. Do you know at H&M, and I'm not afraid to admit this, I'm a size 12 in pants, and people are, I tell them that, they're like, oh, really?
Right.
I'm like, because they're 12, because of
It's
the
not-
way they cut,
Uh-huh.
is an 8. I'm a good size 8
I,
for everybody.
for years, have called H&M hemming and mending.
It's so great.
Because you have to.
Because you have to hem and then, but I think Tim brought up, but you were so resourceful. We were all forced to
Yeah.
be
I tried.
resourceful. But here's my thing.
Mm.
You were on Broadway.
Mhm.
Broadway closes.
Mhm.
How does one continue their creativity, their
uh-huh.
energy, and their resourcefulness without singing that song? Is that all there is?
Yeah.
That's you know that
You know what
Because-
has been-
for me, like
Mm.
when I finish a project
closing.
or a
Yeah,
run,
the closing.
uh,
It's that
afterward, the
letdown.
first that stupid voice in the head, the first one goes, "You're never going to work again."
it's over.
It's over.
It's like
This was
Strange
it,
Loop.
baby,
It's
right.
like
I
your
hope you
character,
enjoyed that.
your character in Strange
But you're
Loop.
not
You're
gonna
never
do
going to
that.
work again.
No, quick right after that, because of the popularity of the show, because of the popularity with young people, I think we were all getting asked to teach and to
Oh,
come,
nice.
come to this school and do this, come to this
How
college. and do this.
wonderful.
And I have just taken that ball and run.
Oh,
and
Yeah,
Yes.
you have.
Yes.
everywhere. But these young artists have been the thing. It has been one of the greatest joys to teach them and to impart things. Because I'm also,
Uh-huh.
we can talk about Stanislavski and Meisner, but we also have to talk about things you need to put in your contract.
Yes.
and
Right,
agents
you
right.
who
can give
should
them
or
all of
should not
that,
be.
right.
That is an education.
Right.
Those are things that no one is teaching them.
Right.
Right.
And then on top of it, they're young folks in the tri-state. So I have a student I've been teaching at a college up in Westchester, and I have a student who is not in any one of my classes. He's just in the theater department on that campus, and he only refers to me as Professor Strangeloop
Yes.
because of what it means to him.
Right.
There are
love that.
kids who have taken my classes and said, I only signed up for this class because someone
Yeah.
who looked like me taught it.
Wow.
That
That's
it
huge to be
warms
able to,
and breaks my heart.
huge.
Yes,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
So that has been a thing that fuels me to get on to the next thing.
Uh-huh.
Being
right.
able to impart some stuff to these young
Right.
folks
Absolutely.
helps me to then go back out and say, like, okay, well, I just told them never to let yourself suffer with this. So when I go into this situation, hey, I can't suffer with that because I just told,
Right.
I told
Yeah.
26
Right.
kids yesterday
Right. Right.
never to do this.
Right.
So I can't
Uh-huh.
do this.
Right. You're
And
walking
that-
the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has been a really great thing.
Do you realize, I mean, have you taken a moment to realize just how much of a trailblazer you are?
I'm trying to do
Accept-
something
Yeah.
like that.
Receive
Yeah.
that, accept
Yeah.
that, because you
Thank
have
you.
really been
Thank you very
part
much.
of,
Right.
and also in your mind
Yeah.
are acceptant of that you're moving forward and
And
moving
paying it
people
forward,
forward
and
with
paying-
you.
Right.
and
I,
paying
don't-
it
I don't want to
forward.
go there by
Right.
myself.
Right.
I'm
Right.
nosy, but I'm also scared.
Uh-huh. Right,
I want to
absolutely.
bring some folks with me.
Right.
One of the things that happened when we were in DC, we got to go to the National African American Museum. And of course, we went up to the theater section immediately. Well, we went to the whole thing, but we spent some quality time to look at, like, original costumes from The Wiz and
Oh
things
my
like that.
God.
And someone, I forget who it was, said, hey, you do realize that elements from A Strange Loop are going to end up.
Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely.
absolutely,
Right. Because it was groundbreaking and what it
There
was.
are 10
How
musicals.
profound.
There are 10 musicals that have ever won the Pulitzer Prize. 10.
And the-
Wow.
And it's in the
Amazing.
history of,
Right.
and it's like Oklahoma, South Pacific,
Right.
a chorus line.
It wasn't too
All
black
the
or too gay until
Right.
you came along.
Rent,
Right.
next
right.
to Normal, Hamilton.
Yeah.
You know who else is on that? A Strange Loop.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's the
it.
only
Oh
one written
my
by a black man.
God.
It's the only one written by a black person.
Right.
That's fascinating.
And it's a
I
true
was-
story.
you can't ever take that
Right.
away.
You can't.
Absolutely.
If it ran for 5 minutes, I was still in that.
Absolutely.
I built
Wait, and you put the
Yeah.
13 years into
Yeah.
it. Let us not forget this did
So-
not happen
Right,
overnight. That's-
I
absolutely.
feel like I have to
Yeah.
let kids know that it doesn't happen overnight,
Right.
unless you have a really great trust fund.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen
and you can
overnight,
produce the thing yourself, right?
and that you have to stick with it.
Right.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
You're going to go do
And
some
you've
things you
gotta
don't
have-
want to do. but
And you have to
go
have faith in it
That's it.
and passion for
Yeah.
it. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
But
How
I'm
did you
trying.
jump back into cabaret?
I got very tired of the 14th production of Smokey Joe's Cafe.
Yeah,
I did. Or going to auditions and being
Right.
literally asked like horrible things.
Stupid
for
thing.
so-
It's stupid thing.
I don't. Can you sing it a little more urban? Don't be afraid to like take it to church.
Oh,
Can you sing it like Billy Porter would sing it?
Oh my
Those
God.
things
I
are
hope
like-
you do this in your
Yeah.
act.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
I
like-
talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
all the
this
time.
is like
because who's listening to
take
me?
it to church.
But like I feel like it's so foolish to have asked those things or said those
Ugh.
things. And I started about 15 years ago saying like, well, I'm just going to put together an act of my
I'm
own.
a performer. I can
Mhm.
sing. I
and
can
I'm gonna
write.
sing the
you
things
know,
I feel
yeah.
like singing.
Absolutely.
And it happened by accident the first time it ever happened. A friend of mine was putting together, she was producing a show of all like women's music of the 60s and 70s, like Carole King and Joni
Mhm.
Mitchell. And we were up at a wedding together in Connecticut and driving back to New York because she had a show that night. And the Carole King person dropped out while we were in the car on the phone with her. And I was like, well, it's Carole King. Like, it's kind of low anyway. I was like, I could sing it. I could fill in. And I did.
Oh
And
my
that-
God.
It caused these moments in the show where the band had to like, oh, that's right. So James is going to do this. So we have to. So in between the Carole King numbers, there was a little bit of space, and I had to kind of kill time,
Phil.
banter, fill.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's all it is. Tell a little story,
Yeah.
sing a little song. Hopefully they make
Yeah.
sense.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he got it. Okay, great. It makes
Great.
sense.
Well,
Yeah,
right. My
exactly.
audience, my
And
one
I
person
was-
loved it.
I was hooked.
Right.
I was hooked. And then I just started
You're
building the
such
things.
a natural for it.
Wow.
But just
Yeah.
around kind of.
But that took
what I
so
wanna
much
say.
courage to jump up on the stage to fill in. Wow.
But we do that in the theater world,
Right,
You know?
right.
Like if the part you've been watching and the person next to you on stage, like,
Uh-huh.
I'll get it. I got it tonight. We do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So to me, it was like, oh, my friend needs
You could
someone.
do
on-
it.
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm
So
there.
but that was the thing that got me hooked, and it has
Mhm.
been amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? The
Yeah.
the whole like single person, one
Mhm.
person on stage telling the story
Storytelling,
and
singing the
interweaving songs in. Yeah.
But also the scent of French fries wafted.
Yeah.
through. You know what I mean?
It's like the whole food
So
aspect
it's like
of
I
it.
can't
Right.
wait till I'm
Yeah.
finished so I can get some of those
I
fries.
want to hear you
That's really
ordering the
funny,
French
Tim.
fries. I want to hear that the waiter got your drink order.
I like the I like the clanging of the
Yeah.
forks and knives while
And the glasses,
I
yeah.
do. I like that clanging.
One of the
That is
maybe
part
2
of it.
years ago in Provincetown, I was singing at a place called Tin Pan Alley, and the
Mhm.
piano section is probably just as big as this little corner.
Right.
And you're like wedged up in there. There's no way. There's even a gate there, so you as the singer can't get out.
Oh my God.
The bar is even closer than the bar is
Yeah.
here. But someone got arrested. Someone at the bar, like in that scene
During
right
your
there. I'm singing.
And the cops tend to arrest
And
somebody. I
this
love
guy
that.
was getting like out of control, and I'm like, and again, I'm nosy. And my piano player was like, James, do you want to come sit on the bench?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, girl.
No, I love
I
I'm
can't
gonna-
see from over
I'm
there.
gonna sit right. If I go over there, I'm gonna miss the whole thing.
right.
And he got fully arrested right there.
Oh my
And
God.
I never missed a beat.
And
Yes,
you just
yes,
kept singing your
yes.
little heart
I
out.
love that.
Right.
So now when I went back the next year and I sang that same song somewhere, and I was like, hey, last time I
Yeah.
sang this song,
It's always
Provincetown.
arrested.
somebody went to jail.
But now you're going to
Yeah.
expect it,
Let's
right?
see who feels lucky tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so
But
those
no.
kinds of things, I love it.
No, you're heading back up to Provincetown.
Provincetown.
Literally
Yeah,
tomorrow.
this week. Yeah,
Uh-huh,
for
yeah.
this
Tomorrow,
weekend.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is that
Yeah.
at post office?
I will be at the post
Yeah.
office
Mhm.
this coming
Only a few
weekend.
places. up
Yeah.
there.
Well, there's things changing up there. I was there in June for Juneteenth, and I did a Juneteenth cabaret.
Nice.
Based on I did all this research on the history of artists of color who played in Provincetown over the years.
Wow, cool.
My mind was blown with the research that I found,
Uh-huh.
and had this amazing sold out run of a Juneteenth cabaret.
Oh,
It's totally
wow.
cool, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I
That's so creative and so
Yeah.
original.
Yeah.
That's
and
wonderful.
it was a really
and
good
also
run.
love your-
again spreading the word
Yeah.
about you. There are still people
I
that
didn't
don't know
know.
of what Juneteenth is.
Well,
but yeah.
I have friends here in New York who don't understand my fascination with and love of Provincetown.
Uh-huh.
And they're artists of color and writers of color, performers of color, and they're like, "Oh, Provincetown isn't for me," and that's
Uh-huh.
never been
What
my
does that
experience.
mean for me?
They don't
you know?
think that it's inclusive to them
Mhm,
as
mhm.
performers of color.
Interesting.
Right.
And I grew up in that area, so I've
Right.
been going to
Uh-huh.
Provincetown since I was in a stroller.
An
So
hour away.
Uh-huh.
never been my story. So I have been trying to bridge that gap in whatever ways I can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I found
Once
some
again,
amazing
trailblazing.
Yeah.
I discovered
I
And
love your
that,
mind.
And paying it
I
forward.
think there's a venue there called the A House, the
Mhm.
Atlantic House. famous, now it's just like a famous like shirt off muscle boys dancing. But it has a cabaret space in the back that in the summer of 1955, in one summer in 1955, like full, like a lot of Jim Crow stuff and segregation stuff happening
Wow.
around the country. That summer, in 1 month between August and July, Eartha Kitt, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday
Stop! I can't
it.
write.
happened to play at
What a history!
but their bands and a lot of them themselves were not allowed to stay in town.
Oh
like
my
I find the
God.
juxtaposition of that so interesting.
Wow.
And I'm like, we should know.
Right.
About, people should know that that's a part of
We
history.
absolutely know
Yes.
the history.
Wow.
Nina
Wow.
Simone.
And not that long ago
This
in
was
our
not that long
history.
ago. So it's a really
I have to believe,
Wow.
talking to you, you were raised with such an incredible respect and
Yeah,
knowledge
I
that,
have a feeling.
that your
yeah.
parents understood.
my parents were from the South originally, both from the
Mhm.
same town in North Carolina, and they met when they were in Boston. And my mom came to Boston to go to grad school at Brandeis. And so she was a little tiny Black woman from the South who worked in cancer research for
Wow.
30, almost 40 years of her life. And my dad was a businessman. So he like self-made, he went to cosmetology school when he got to Boston.
I love it,
Uh-huh.
right?
And he got a job in South Boston, like in tough Southie. But he got a job working in a funeral home in South
Uh-huh.
Boston.
Making
So-
up the corpses.
Yes, so the
Uh-huh.
like Irish
Right.
mafia guys
Yeah,
took care
sure.
of my dad because
Right.
they were like, "You made my grandmother look
Yeah.
amazing." And
Right.
right.
Exactly.
My
So
grandmother
exactly.
never looked like
Yeah.
that.
But I came from these people who they were also in Boston in the
Right.
60s and
Uh-huh.
70s.
Yeah.
My mom went to grad school at Brandeis, but she went to class every day for 2 years with a police escort.
Wow.
So
Oh my God.
That's
are the
a
people that
story and a
raised
half.
me.
Right.
So naturally, I'm kind of a little like, I'm going to raise my hand.
Yes.
Right.
Say,
Right.
like, hey,
Right.
this appears to be this. I'm going to do it respectfully as possible,
Uh-huh.
but I'm going to say, hey, this appears to be
But
this.
that's it's not going to get by you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They have got to
Whoa, 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 whoa,
be
whoa.
so proud of you.
They
for
are.
everything you've
Absolutely.
accomplished.
You know, I'm talking about in the show I'm doing this weekend. My mother never got to see me perform on Broadway. She passed away 6 years ago.
Hmm.
I'm
And
sorry.
but have placed her in the audience.
Right.
Everything I've done.
Right. Oh,
So-
that's gorgeous.
So I sing songs that are dedicated to her, but I know that this is
Love
all
it.
very much like what she probably saw coming.
Uh-huh.
The
Yeah,
teaching
yeah.
side of things and the performance side of things. And,
Yeah.
my dad is still very much my dad is very proud.
Right.
Very,
Uh-huh.
That's my son. But he's also
Uh-huh.
very much like, you just need to get in like a Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
Wait, I love it. I love it.
Okay,
Your dad's
Dad.
a businessman.
Right.
Yeah,
James, you can
exactly.
make
Right.
big bucks.
And
You
I'm
get a
like-
role in a Tyler
Yeah.
Perry movie, you'll be set.
I'm like, thank you, Daddy.
Thank you for your support. We have a lot of comments.
I know. This is
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, people have been
Just a
tuning
second.
in.
Yeah, we've got some good ones there. Let me see.
I have to put in
Justin
my
Gooding says,
glasses.
"Love this. Thank you."
Thank you, Justin. Lori
Lord
Towers
Tyler's
absolutely hate they. Lori's out
I
of the
do
box
remember
like we are.
the
She
day
hates
after
they.
the elections, dates of mourning. She also has a really nice comment coming up. if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. 20th Century Gay says,
I love that
there's
name.
there's a meme. I'm not sure what what they were talking about, but he says Zeke and Vera approved of this.
That is my partner.
Oh my God, I
okay.
love it.
Hi.
Zeke and Vera
Tom
are
is
Tom.
Tom.
Yes.
Hi, Tom.
Zeke and Vera are our dogs.
Oh,
Oh.
how wonderful!
What kind of dogs are they?
They are two Shih Tzus.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
do they have
Oh,
Oh, they're
underbites?
so adorable.
Not well. Zeke is the littlest one.
Right.
He's the older one, but he's little, and he has 3 teeth.
Oh,
His-
he's a
the
senior
rest of his
dog.
teeth never came in.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
he just only
He's-
grew
yeah.
3 teeth.
So,
He must
but
be
you'd
so
think he
cute.
was a Doberman or a
Yeah.
German
Right.
Shepherd, but he's just a tough little scrappy.
Now, John, I never know how
John,
to say that.
John Chicken Griffin.
John Jacob
Teal.
Griffith. Yeah, he says, "Thank you, James. I love your passion. Affirms my belief. Theater does what religion often fails to
Yeah,
do."
he's a pastor. He's
It-
an amazing
Yes,
person.
it says it excites, inspires, motivates, and transforms the world.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great? Love you, Tim and Wendy.
And we love you right back. Such an incredible person. Also, Suze is on here. She's from the Boston area.
Oh,
She's a
yay.
designer.
Yes.
Suze Genero had said hi, doll. She watches every week. Thank
Yes.
you, Suze.
And Lori Towers, while you were singing,
Yeah.
I saw her post. She said, "Pure theater, using the mic impeccably."
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joe
Yeah,
Preston, our
love
good buddy
Joe.
here in the East Village, she says James is putting his God-given talent to work beautifully and creatively.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Joe.
Uh-huh.
Apollo
Apollo
Carrera.
Carrera
Yeah.
says, "Great. Are your frame? I can't see what that.
Are-
makes
Oh,
sense.
are they nickeled?
No,
Are
Oh,
they?
are your
I
frames?
have
your
nickeled
frames.
ones. Not on
These-
here, but I
I
have.
What's funny? I was like,
Can I
telling you,
try those on?
These are these like
Those are
$5.
fabulous.
They're like they were like $5 or $10.
You bought them on
Stop
the
it.
street.
These are
They're
just
fabulous.
Oh, I
My
did
pres-
have
the
these.
bougie prescription ones are over there. The Gucci's are over there. these are just some.
You won the
Fabulous.
$5 ones on the show.
but like they have the
They look
color
great.
in them.
No, and you have
Yeah.
a whole thing going with glasses.
I do.
Uh-huh.
I have a
do.
pair of Mickley glasses. I posted it on Facebook this weekend.
When you
Everyone
get
was
the
like, "Are those
expensive, like,
Mickley?"
yeah.
But I bought them at the flea market 25 years ago, and then
Yeah.
I had new, lenses
I
put
love
in.
that.
I was like,
I
"They're
love that.
great." Okay.
And then
go-
Sue's our,
yes.
our designer from up in
Yeah.
that area, from
yeah,
Massachusetts.
Oh, yay.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, she says, great show. Thanks.
Aw.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody that tuned in
Yes.
today. I'm so happy we were able to get you on.
I'm
Oh
so
my God, this
yeah.
is
This is
so
so-
Don't give
wonderful.
up easily.
Thank you
Of
so much.
of
This is
course.
great.
Thank
So
you
now
for
Tell us,
everything
tell
you're
us about your upcoming shows.
doing. Yes,
Okay, so I'm in Provincetown this weekend at the Post Office Cafe.
right.
Friday and Saturday night, August 2nd and 3rd at 7 p.m. The week after. So
Williamstown Theater.
I'm going to the Williamstown Theater Festival.
Uh-huh.
I just found that out. They have a cabaret series they do up there. So I'm going to
Sweet.
do.
And that's great.
Now, where is
gorgeous.
that?
It's so it's interesting. Provincetown is the end of
Uh-huh.
Massachusetts, like the pink,
Right.
and Williamstown is the
near
polar
Pittsfield.
opposite.
It's near
Oh,
Pittsfield.
clear over on the opposite.
Albany,
Oh,
would be
but
if
yeah.
you crossed over into New
Right.
York.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's
up
that.
in-
It's near Pittsfield and
Yeah.
that whole
I
area.
went to
Okay.
college up in that area.
Yeah.
So I'll be returning to my lesbian.
There you go.
Your
Birkenstock.
lesbian, your lesbian roots.
Yeah.
What college did you go to?
I went to Westfield State University,
Wow.
which is
Uh-huh.
like up in just deep Berkshires. But
Yeah.
I was
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah, you're
original lesbian.
I grew up
Bonnie
going to
DeFranco
that
and
area.
I love that area.
I grew up in the Bronx, and to get out of the Bronx, we would go to the Berkshires.
it's
It was,
right
It was
there.
beautiful.
Yeah, and I was
Absolutely
just far
beautiful.
enough away from my parents.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right.
But
But-
close enough.
But you're going back to Provincetown for a gala.
So I'll be Williamstown is the week after, and then the end of the month I will be singing at the Provincetown Theater's gala.
Cool.
That's
They're
so
honoring
cool.
Joe DiPietro, who won a Tony for the musical Memphis. He wrote
Oh,
Memphis
okay. Oh,
years ago.
wow.
So
Uh-huh.
I'm singing at a benefit gala to honor
How
him.
very
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, so
Nice.
there's a lot of lovely things that are happening. I get to go teach more this fall.
Oh,
So
good.
I'll be in Florida at the University of South Florida in
Uh-huh.
Sarasota.
And you love teaching. You're
I
at
love it.
Manhattanville College now.
I was there all this past school
yeah,
year,
it's
Uh-huh.
great.
and I absolutely love it.
Right.
My degree was in music education anyway.
Uh-huh.
I was supposed to be like the high school chorus teacher,
Uh-huh.
No, you
in
weren't.
some
Not with
small
that talent.
town
Not with that
somewhere.
talent. Yeah.
and then this happened. I
But
started
you're
performing.
doing
Yeah.
both of it. You're doing
So
all
I'm,
of it.
I'm finally getting to do both, and it's my
Right.
favorite thing. I'm so honored to get to do it.
Right.
And teaching I think it is so important, especially just
Absolutely.
right now. Like young
Right.
people,
Right.
I have students who they spent their junior or senior year of high school on Zoom.
Right.
You know?
We forget
Yes,
about that, but yeah, I've talked
absolutely.
to a lot of
They're
those
theater
kids,
people, so they
right.
don't know how, and they're shy. They don't know how to talk to people.
Right,
And I'm like,
right.
you're theater people. You got to get over this.
Yeah.
honey."
Right.
Right.
But I think
right.
about what they've been through.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's so important, even if they're not going to end up in the business,
Uh-huh.
to get them out of
Absolutely.
that thing.
Absolutely.
And if I can be that conduit, and if that means conduit, and that means something to them, then I'm more than.
But
happy to
also,
do that.
I mean, I can't imagine the joy that, taking someone who might be like that, might be shy and not really,
Yeah.
and then helping them to come out so that by
It
the
is-
end of
it's-
the year,
it's so
seeing
gorgeous
them
to watch.
fully,
It
and
is.
also educating them to what to expect.
Right.
And they're kids with devices and things.
Yeah.
So they're like the first day of school
Those
last
kids
year,
with
one
devices.
kid was like, "So wait, you were on Broadway?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But you were in a strange loop, and I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I heard they worked on that for years," and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the real world.
did.
Right.
"But like they performed on the Tonys," and I was like, "Yeah."
yeah.
Yeah. And my acting class is 4 hours long, so there's
Oh,
like
wow.
a 20-minute break in between. And in the middle of the break, I heard my own voice coming out of a device because he was
He
looking
recorded?
No, he was looking up performances of us
Oh,
on YouTube.
wow.
He found us
Funny.
on like the
Funny.
Tonight Show,
Right.
the Tony's performance, and I could see him being
He's
like,
playing it.
oh my God, it is you.
That's
Wouldn't
so
lie.
funny, right?
Yeah. So it's really super rewarding. But I feel I'm so honored to get to help them, and it has helped me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say it's definitely a two-way street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
I remind them of that. Every
Right.
day you drive there, you're like, this is going to suck. I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be teaching. And then the thing goes well. And
Right.
and you're driving home and you're like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah,
It's
right.
I can't believe how good I was. And then they're just great. It's
Oh, God. What a kumbaya moment.
every single day.
Everybody.
is that. But I think every artist should go do that. I think it's
Uh-huh.
a space
Yeah.
you should go create.
Yeah.
in. go create in a space where there are people just younger than you.
Mhm.
And see
Yeah.
what it does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To you, to them, even if it doesn't work, even if you're terrible at it, but I think you should go
Right.
do that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's so rewarding on so many levels.
Yeah. It fills you up. It
Yeah, I have
absolutely
had a
does.
great time.
Well, this has been an amazing time with
James-
you here today.
It really
James
has.
Jackson Jr.
James
oh
Jackson
my
Jr.
God.
And I'm telling him he needs to come back in November. I think I'm paying attention to your schedule to do a show here at Pangea.
I will be back.
Absolutely.
I have
We're
to
going to
tell
keep you all posted.
Pangea is one of the. I had never done anything here, and
It's
I
it's
saw a
fabulous,
show here. I
right?
think
Yeah.
years ago. It is one of the sweetest places in the city.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You remember when you go to spaces and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel good here.
It's a
Mhm.
beautiful
I-
space.
Yeah.
I felt so good.
Yeah.
I feel good. Even walking in today, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm
I
home.
promise.
That's how I feel.
I
I'm
promise I
home.
will be back.
Oh,
Right,
sweet.
right.
And
Yay.
we can't wait.
Yay.
Absolutely.
James Jackson Jr.
Thank
right
you,
here.
everybody,
We
for
thank you
tuning in
so much.
today.
Thank
We'll
you.
see
Thank you.
you
Thank you. Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you. This was
Next
super
week.
fun.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.